And welcome again to Cottage Talk Full Time. I am Russ Goldman. This is my initial reaction to Fulham's 2-0 victory in the FA Cup against Leeds United. Fulham move on to the quarterfinals with this 2-0 victory at Craven Cottage. It wasn't easy, but two fantastic goals from Fulham. Man of the match, I'm going to point right now at Tim Ream, but if you do watch live, feel free to share who was your man of the match. Tim Ream was a huge difference maker at the end of the match, along with the substitutions, the triple substitutions to see this match out. It's a huge victory for Fulham Football Club. Leeds United, first half, I thought they were very good. They were the equal to Fulham, but Fulham got the goal. Fulham were more clinical throughout this match. Fulham were dangerous when they started dictating play, especially in the second half. I thought Leeds United were pretty dangerous in the first half, but they never got the goal. Yes, they had a goal taken away by a push on Harry Wilson in the first half. Yes, they had another one for offside. Fulham had one taken away from an offside with Alexander Mitrovic. Listen, in the end, Fulham deserved to move on in the FA Cup. Like I mentioned, if you're watching live, feel free to share your thoughts on this victory for Fulham. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcast. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. I am recording this probably about 10 to 15 minutes after the match, and I'm still pretty revved up from this victory. My initial reaction is, was it the greatest performance? No. Did they move on? Yes. Are there good points to take out of this? I think so. I definitely think so, and I'll share more of that in my next episode when I go through my 5 takeaways. But for me, it's about moving on and advancing. It didn't look pretty at times, and Leeds United deserve credit for that. But in the end, 2 incredible strikes, just being clinical and being pretty much defensively sound made the difference in this match. Doing what it needs to be done to just move on and advance, because that's what it's about. Ultimately, it's not about the performance. It's about moving on. And Fulham did more than enough to move on to the quarterfinals, and we'll see who they end up playing. Why do I feel like it's going to be Manchester City? I hope it's not. They move on as well, but that's for another show. But in the end, I thought Fulham deserved to move on in the competition. That's where I'm going to start. Okay, so when I look at the first half, and this will be about a 15 to 20 minute show, like I mentioned, I thought Leeds United were dangerous at times, and Fulham were not creating too many opportunities. But like I said, it just takes that moment, that magic moment. And again, it was that man, João Palhinha. And Fulham take the lead with his incredible strike. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, were they fortunate to go ahead? I wouldn't say fortunate, but it was a great strike. At that point, I thought Leeds United were playing well. And you could say maybe that would have stopped them from really trying to get back into this match. But that's the exact opposite, because then from that point on, in the first half, I thought Leeds United were putting a lot of pressure on Fulham. And I thought at times Fulham were holding on a little bit to that 1-0 lead. And I thought, again, it was very important to get through that first half with that 1-0 lead. And that's exactly what they did. And I thought at that point, Fulham would have a little talk from Marco, come out in the second half, look sharper, and we would see a little bit different Fulham side in the second half. And to be honest with you, that's kind of what I got. It was a little bit even to start the second half, but I could tell that Fulham were moving the ball more crisply. And then you get the fantastic strike. It was almost a carbon copy of his last goal by Manor Solomon in the second half. Fantastic goal. But we have to give a lot of credit, a huge amount of credit for setting this up from Alexander Mitrovic. Mitro returns, and he set up this wonderful strike from Manor Solomon. And at this point, you're thinking Fulham have this victory here. But to be fair, there was still plenty of time left in this match, but that strike by Manor Solomon just, I thought, took the stuffing out of Leeds United, because from that point on, until they made their substitutions, Fulham were on top. Fulham were looking for the third goal. In fact, Alexander Mitrovic put one in the back of the net, but he was offside. And then Fulham were really in control with this 2-0 lead until Brendan Aronson comes on for Leeds United and the other substitutions they made. And I thought that made Leeds United dangerous. And then it really became the Tim Ream show. Anyone that watched this match, especially in the second half, you got to really give it to Tim Ream. Clearing a ball off the line, just being at the right place at the right time. Tim Ream was fantastic in this match. You would never know that this guy is 35 years old. And he was fantastic. I thought he was a huge difference in the second half. Major difference in the second half. Without Tim Ream, I don't think Fulham move on in the FA Cup to the quarterfinals. And I'll be curious if the Fulham supporters agree with me when we talk about man of the match. But for me, Tim Ream was a huge difference maker. And then, like I mentioned, you have Leeds United really getting control of the match and looked like they were going to score that goal to get back in the match. Then Fulham made a triple substitution that I think put the favor back to the home team. You have Bobby Decordova-Reid, Harrison Reed coming on, and I thought these two players made a huge difference, really helped Fulham get control, and of course Willian was the third. So those three players really made a difference, basically take control back and see this match out. Did Leeds United have some really excellent opportunities at the end of the match? Yes, they did. But who stepped up once again? Your captain, Tim Ream. And Fulham see the match out for the 2-0 victory, and they move on in the FA Cup, which is fantastic. And I hope everyone enjoyed the match. It was a little nail-biting there for a little bit, but Fulham get the victory and move on. Before I share some comments from the Fulham supporters, and I have a good amount of them, I do want to just go back and let's talk about my thoughts on the starting 11, because I think this sets everything up. I thought this showed the intent of Marco Silva. I thought it was a very strong starting 11. Bold decision to start Alexander Mitrovic. You might disagree with me. I didn't want Marco to start Mitro because I think the Premier League is more important, but he starts Mitro. And you could say, have your comments on how he played, but I thought that was a very big decision by Marco. And he starts Manor Solomon, Harry Wilson. And I thought it was also good to start the three in the middle. Sasa Lukic gets a start along with Paulinho and Pereira. Interesting decision to start Tosin instead of Diop. That's the direction he went. And then he started Marek Rodak. Anthony Robinson started at left back, which I thought was great. And then you have Cedric Soares as your right back. I thought it was a fairly strong starting 11. Not their strongest, but a show of intent that Fulham wanted to win this match and move on in the cup. I think Marco Silva took this very seriously. That's my opinion on it, with his decision on the starting 11. Okay. Coming up next, I'm going to share who was my man of the match. And if you're watching live, feel free to share who was your man of the match. And I will share your comments, and I have a good amount of them to end the show. Okay. So as we talk about man of the match, before I get there, I do have several comments from the Fulham supporters. So I'm just going to pull up some and share what everyone has to say. Let's start with Steve Turner, Solomon, Mats Carlson, Tim Ream. I think we're already talking about man of the match. Let's see what Steve Turner also has to share. 4-4 for our little genius, Manor Solomon. So it's got to be Manor Solomon. He's going for Manor Solomon for man of the match. Lee Warner says, brilliant from Paulinho and Solomon. Managed the game well, even if a bit scruffy at times. We're going to Wembley, Russ. Lee, I'm not sure about that, but I hope we do. We're only one match away, one victory away, which would be fantastic. For my friend Black, White, and Fred, 2 brilliant goals. Still not playing our best, but picking up the wins. Come on, you Whites. And that's the way to look at it. I don't think it was a brilliant performance, but they move on, and they did what they had to. This is from Reese Kemp. Loving the daily content, Russ. Thanks, Reese. I appreciate that. Also, Black, White, and Fred shares this. Ream was class again. He could get man of the match every week at the moment. You're right. You're right there, my friend. Absolutely. I'm going to keep the comments coming. Here's from my friend Lee Warner again. What a brilliant few weeks it's been for Fulham Football Club. So proud of them. And this is from my friend Wayne Walden. Hi, Russ. I did say that Mitro would be playing against Leeds. Yes, you did, Wayne. You were right. Wayne Walden, right again. Rick Kerr says, Ream, man of the match for me. Steve Reynolds shares, Mitro 80%, but his work rate in tracking back was excellent. Good point there, Steve. Very good point. Colin Bugle says, Rodak looked a little shaky and go, I agree. Colin made me a little nervous. I would have actually gone, believe it or not, I would have gone with Bernd Leno. That's what I would have done. And lastly, from my friend Wayne Walden, and I did say that Solomon will score goals for Fulham. Wayne, you did. I'm giving you your plaudits. You did say, and he's now scored 4 goals in 4 games. Incredible. Let's see. This is from Rick Kerr. The Sharks will begin circling for Solomon. You're probably right. But you know what? Hopefully Fulham will keep him at the club, and I really hope so. Okay, great stuff. All right. So I'm going to share who was my man of the match. And it's interesting because I could go for Solomon. I absolutely could go for Solomon. And as one Fulham supporter pointed out, you could say man of the match each and every match is Tim Ream. But it has to be Tim Ream for me. It absolutely has to be Tim Ream. And it's weird to say this, that a player can be getting better as he ages, especially in a sport like this. But I think he's getting better. It's not just his reading of the game. It's just his overall play. I mean, he just knows what to do, but he's also executing. He still has the physical ability to get the job done. He does not have the wheels anymore. He is not fast, but he reads the game so well, and it does not take away from his abilities, his lack of pace. It absolutely does not, because he still has to have the ability to make these passes. I'm telling you, he does not take the chances with these passes even 2 seasons ago. He's doing it now because he believes in himself. He's at the top of his game. Tim Ream, this is his best season of his career. And that's unbelievable to say at his age. 35 years old. He's my man of the match. Let's see what else we have for some comments. I'll just share some more comments to end the show. Let's see. This is from my friend Dave Nicholson. Exciting result. Landed at JFK to see that JP had scored that screamer on the train into Penn as Manor scored. Amazing. Blackburn away in the next round, please. Very good. All right. Steve Reynolds also shares Paulinho for the goal, which stopped the pressure we were under. Very good point, Steve, because Fulham were under pressure. The goal changed everything. However, Leeds United kept coming. So I want to give them credit, but to Fulham's credit, they never gave up that goal. In fact, Leeds United never scored. They were dangerous, but in the end, I thought Fulham did enough to move on in the FA Cup. And that's the bottom line. Move on and advance. All right. I would agree with you. Tim Ream is a legend. I would totally agree with you, Wayne. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this quick episode of Cottage Talk Full-Time. As always, I appreciate everyone who watches and listens to Cottage Talk. I will have more commentary tomorrow talking about this FA Cup victory for Fulham. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening to Cottage Talk. Come on, you Whites.